Hey, my name is Brenda Simmons, and I have been thinking about what I want to share with you for quite a long time. And it has to do with being stuck. Have you ever felt stuck? Stuck in a career, stuck in a relationship, just stuck in life? I have felt this, and I have learned a very beginning principle that is super powerful. And it is one that I want to share with you today. So this principle I learned through hard knocks, through study, through trial and error, and it was really difficult, and it took me a long time to figure it out. And then I tested it for a long time after that. And I know that this principle is true, and so I want to pass that along to you. This principle is being honest. I've got that up here on my board. I truly believe that being honest is a superpower, and I'm going to explain why that is today. But first we need to discover, okay, what is honesty? We all have learned about this. So honesty is telling things as they really are. And we lie all the time, don't we? Human beings, they're human. We lie about big things, about little things. When we lie to other people, there's a lot of negative social repercussions. And so it kind of is a checks and balances on some respects to help us go too far in a lie. But how about lying to ourselves? There isn't somebody there all the time to say, don't say that to yourself. It's so easy to do, and it can be so believable. It can be even hard to catch, and at the very least, self-deception stops our progress, but at the very worst, it could be deadly. So why do we do it? Why would we tell lies to ourselves? Why would we deceive ourselves? And there's many different reasons. We want to be right, we don't want to feel uncomfortable, we want to avoid change, we want to boost our self-esteem, we want to avoid responsibility, and the list goes on and on and on. There's lots and lots of reasons why we would lie to ourselves. And these lies can look very different. So you could be saying things like, it's not my fault, I couldn't help it, a little bit won't hurt me. How about this? I'll do it later. Have you ever done that? I have. And some are even more damaging, like, I don't matter, I don't care, I'm not good enough. All of these things are lies. Now, when we say something we know isn't true, even to ourselves, we react physically to that. Now, you might be saying, well, what if I believe it? What if I've internalized it so much? And I don't think that's true on one level, because I've experienced this. So I remember once I was sitting in church, and I was sitting in almost a fetal position. I was in a really low point of my life. And I remember responding to a question saying, I'm not good at this, and I'm not good at that. And I remember hearing audible gasps in the audience. Like, what? And I remember that I truly believed it, and I argued with them. No, I really believe that I'm not good at A, B, and C. But let me tell you, I felt something different. There was an incongruency there that I felt. And so I believe subconsciously I knew what I was saying wasn't a lie. And so I had this physical reaction of uncomfort, that it didn't quite match up. So I believe that no matter what, we have some kind of a physical reaction when we tell a lie, even to ourselves, and even something that we truly believe. So other physical reactions is our body language won't match up to what we're saying, or our tone of voice won't match up to what we're saying either. Sometimes we'll have an increased heart rate, increased respiratory rates. That's why we have polygraph machines to track that. And probably the most damaging of all is our brains become really stressed out. They enter what's called this limbic system, which is your fight or flight system. Now I'm going to show you some self-deception results. These are things that happen to us as a result of continually lying to ourselves, okay? And then the first one is we have a frantic mind. So I mentioned this fight or flight system that we enter when we tell a lie. And this is super important because over time, it increases our stress level and can even affect our health. What's scary about having a frantic mind is that we are not able to make good decisions when we're in this mode. It's very reactionary. We're reacting instead of acting, and so we're not able to make solid decisions. We're also not able to be in our creative mode. And so any kind of creativity gets stifled when you have a frantic mind, when you're in that limbic system, again, caused by self-deception. Okay, next one is we lose respect. Not only do we lose respect for ourselves, but then that gets projected onto other people. We start losing respect for other people. And as a result of that, we start losing our love for other people. It's really hard to feel compassionate when you don't have respect and you don't have love for somebody else. All right, next one is we have a lower self-esteem. So this has so many repercussions all over the world. A lower self-esteem causes a lot of problems. So this one's really dangerous. We actually enter into a victim mentality. What does this mean? Well, it's not taking responsibility, fear of the future. It's not being able to move, right? Because you have no control. You basically give up all of your control when you're in the middle of a victim mentality. All right, lastly, we have the end result of all of this is your progress stops. Because your mind is frantic, you can't be creative, you can't make good decisions, you lose respect for people, you lose respect for yourself, your self-esteem goes lower, you enter this victim mentality, you stop progressing. And this is absolutely true. I have experienced this myself. And this is a scary place to be. Super, super scary. So what do? How do we combat this self-deception? So I've got 3 steps of what we can do to stop self-deception. All right. The very first one is to be aware. Now, this can be hard because it takes practice. I remember when I first started doing this, it took me a couple days to just figure out how to observe without controlling my thoughts. And it can be kind of tricky, but you've got to be aware of what you say to yourself. You've got to be aware of how that makes you feel, and you've got to be aware of what actions you're taking or not taking, because that's just as important. So this brings up a really great cycle, all right? So our thoughts affect our emotions. Thoughts come first, right? Your thoughts affect your emotions. Your emotions affect what actions you take or you don't take. And that is going to drive your results. And so you have to be aware of all of this stuff that's going on. And again, it takes some practice. So if you're super frustrated when you try this out and you can't figure it out, it's okay. It's okay. Give yourself some space. Give yourself some time to practice it and to just be aware without judging. You don't need to have any judgment in this area. That time for evaluation is later. You just want to be aware. Okay? Figure out what you're doing, what you're saying, what your emotions are, and what is happening as a result of that. Okay? Now, a good way to do this is to journal, to write it down. And I know some people aren't big journalers, but I got to tell you, if you don't know what's happening, you don't know what's happening. And if you don't know what's happening, you can't change it. And so you have to write it down all the time. It is absolutely critical. If you really want to know what's going on, why you're feeling the way you're feeling, you have to write things down so that you can remember and that you can have the power to change it later. So the second step to stopping self-deception is to accept your situation. All right, so this is important too. Once you are aware of what's going on, you have to accept where you're at. Because if you can't accept where you're at, then you will tailspin emotionally and you will stay in this victim mentality. You cannot jump out of this without accepting where you're at. The last thing you want to do that is so powerful is to take 100% responsibility. And this is super important because when you take responsibility, that gives you the power to change it. And that's what's amazing. Now, if you take a look at this, be aware, accept your situation, and take 100% responsibility. These are all forms of honesty. All of them, every single one of them. To accept your situation is to see it for what it really is. No rose-colored glasses. It's to accept that reality. Okay? Being aware is not justifying your thoughts, your emotions, your actions. It is actually being honest with what they are and accepting them. Taking 100% responsibility is honestly knowing that that choice is yours and that you have the choice to change it. So all of these are ways to be honest. And this is why honesty is a superpower. Because when you are 100% honest with yourself in all of these different ways, you can change. You don't have to stay the same. You have the power to change. You have the power to not be a victim. You have the power to raise your self-esteem. You have the power to calm your mind, to gain respect. You have the power to progress. And that's pretty amazing. And that is exactly what our results are. The results of honesty are, first, a calm mind. Look at this, opposite. Frantic mind, calm mind. Now, remember, when you have a frantic mind, you can't make decisions very well and you can't create. So when you have a calm mind, that puts you in a place of peace so that you can reason things out and you can act instead of react. So that makes your creativity just jacks up. It's amazing. And then you're able to make decisions based on that reasoning. All right, the second one is you're going to increase your respect of yourself and of others, and you're going to find you have more love for others and most especially for yourself. And that is super powerful and super motivating to keep going. All right, you have a higher self-esteem. Are you seeing this pattern? So we're opposites here. When you're honest with yourself, you are able to get out of that victim mentality, and that leads to courageousness. And you will be driven to progress in a way that you want, the way that you've always desired. And the last one is you will become a productivity powerhouse. Isn't that what we all want? How amazing is that we are able to get out of this downward spiral and reach up to find our full potential. And this is how we do it. You be aware. Remember your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, your results. Accept your situation and take 100% responsibility. So now the choice is yours. Once you learn something, what do you do with it? It's not enough just to learn something, but you have to apply it. And I want to tell you how I've done this. So about 10, 12 years ago, I was in a really, really bad place. We had the economic downfall happened, and we were hit really bad financially. It was really, really difficult. I had 3 little kids, and then I had 4 miscarriages, and I just was struggling to find myself, and I didn't like the way I looked, and it was just a really, really difficult time. And I big time buffered my emotions. I didn't even want to feel my emotions. I didn't want to even accept where I was. I was just a hot mess, And what I did mostly was I read. I totally drowned my emotions in books and whatever book I could find. And my poor kids took the brunt of that. My husband took the brunt of that because I didn't even want to take care of them. I didn't want to get out of bed. I just didn't want to deal with life. I just didn't. It wasn't important to me. What was important was just getting through the day. That was it. One day I was so tired of feeling down because that's not who I am. I'm normally a really happy, cheerful, I'm the person who smiles all the time, and I was tired of not feeling that lightness. It was so heavy what I was feeling. And I remember thinking, all right, if nothing gets better in my life, if my life stays the same from here on out, am I going to be happy? Or am I going to just stay like this? And I decided that I was going to choose happiness. And so what I did was I just started to be aware. I was aware that I wasn't in a good place. I was aware that I didn't like my emotions. I didn't understand that my emotions came from my thoughts. That understanding came a little bit later. And then I realized, oh, I'm not just unhappy. I'm depressed. I'm totally depressed. And that was a major shock to me. It was totally shocking because I'd never thought that I would ever experience depression, ever in my life. That was just not even part of the plan ever. And here this depression had crept up on me and I had embraced it. And I didn't even know it. And that's what was scary to me is, wow, I didn't realize how depressed I had become and how much that had taken over my life. And so I had to own it. I totally owned that I was depressed. But it wasn't until I recognized it and I owned it that I was able to go, okay, what do I need to do then to get out of it? All right, so I had to accept it. I had to accept that depression. And then I was able to own it and take the steps necessary to get out of it. Now, it didn't come automatically. Just because I decided I didn't want to be depressed anymore and I had followed these steps didn't mean that I was done. It took me years. It took me years of watching my thoughts. I learned how powerful my thoughts were. And I learned what that did to my emotions and how it affected my actions. And I learned why I was getting the results that I was getting. And it took a long, long time for me to figure this out, for me to test it. And what's crazy is this isn't just a one and done process. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to do this one time and that's how it's going to be. It is a process that you work on daily because things happen. Curveballs are thrown at you during life and you've got to be able to react to them. And how we react to them determines what our results are going to be. Okay? So you have to keep going. Once you figure this out, you keep doing it every single day. Every day. I've had times in my life where I am just riding high. My self-esteem is super high. My creativity is through the roof. And I've had times when I have fallen back this way again. And I've had to recognize, wait a minute, I'm falling. What's going on? Let me be aware. Let me accept where I am. Let me take responsibility. And it works every time. Every single time. So if you're in a place where you don't like the results that you're getting in life, where you feel stuck, where you feel like you just can't move forward or you can't accomplish the goals that you want, you need to evaluate, be aware. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you doing? Are you accepting your situation? Are you leaving the responsibility up to somebody else? And if you are doing those things, or not, as the case may be, then I suggest that you make some changes. Because this works. It works every time. Every single time. This is a true principle that I've tested out multiple times. Now again, that doesn't mean you're going to be happy forevermore after that. But it does give you a tool where you can recognize and correct it. Or you can recognize it and understand why you're doing so well. I hope this helps. It's something that I have felt super passionate about, ever since I figured it out, because I know that honesty truly is the best policy, because it affects your life and who you are. And I hope you can understand this. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I'm happy to share my story with you and to help you through yours. Take care. Bye.